Every December 25th, while the world slows down, families gather around the Christmas tree. Presents are unwrapped. On screens across the world, basketball comes crashing into the holiday. For the NBA, Christmas isn't a break, it's a stage. For more than 70 years, Christmas Day has been one of the league's biggest regular season dates, a tradition that stretches back to the earliest days of professional basketball. That tradition traces back to the founding of the Basketball Association of America, the BAA. Would merge to form the NBA as we know it today. Arena owners of the BAA in cities like New York, Philadelphia, and Boston created the league just to fill empty winter arenas and capitalize on basketball's growing popularity. But television changed everything. Much like football or soccer in the UK, which had organised matches on Christmas Day decades earlier, the NBA gradually claimed December 25th for itself. For decades, it stood alone among a major US sports league in treating the holiday as a yearly centerpiece of its season. The first Christmas Day games tipped off in 1947. An expanding league, packed arenas, and a growing audience helped turn a simple regular season matchup into something much more. So how did a quiet experiment in 1947 evolve into one of the NBA's biggest stages? To understand, we have to start at the beginning. The NBA's Christmas tradition didn't start with superstars or rivalries. It started quietly, and honestly, pretty modestly. The first Christmas Day game tipped off in 1947 when the New York Knicks hosted the Providence Steamrollers at Madison Square Garden. There were no hype packages. Remember, this is a time when basketball had no national television audience, no sense that history was even being made. The matchup itself reflected the league at the time. The Knicks were still establishing themselves, while the Steamrollers were one of the BAA's weakest franchises, a team that would fold just a season later. This wasn't a showcase. Early Christmas games were created, whether intentionally or not, for practical reasons. Holiday travel disrupted schedules. Arenas need events. Basketball, unlike many other outdoor sports, could thrive indoors during winter. If fans were home for Christmas, maybe they'd show up. And well, they did. The game itself didn't produce legendary performances, no iconic moments, but it proved something important. People were willing to watch professional basketball on Christmas Day. That single idea that December 25th could work planted the seed, because sometimes traditions don't start with a bang. They start by simply showing up. Some Christmas Day games aren't just remembered for the scoreboard. They're remembered for players who turned a holiday matchup into a showcase. In 1961, you knew I couldn't make a list about the NBA without this man, Wilt Chamberlain. In a double overtime thriller against the Knicks, he poured in 59 points and he grabbed 36 rebounds, which is still the Christmas Day rebound record and will be probably forever. On the court, Wilt was unstoppable. Turnaround hooks, dunks in traffic, rebounds snatched over anyone. If Wilt wants a bucket, he gets a bucket. Fast forward to 1984, and a rare feat occurs. Wilt's scoring record was broken. Bernard King, already a hero in New York before injury slowed him down, etched his name into NBA history with 60 points on Christmas Day, still the all-time scoring record for the holiday. King was lethal across the court. Baseline jumpers, floaters in the lane, drives, drawing fouls, and free throws. He hit 19 of 30 from the field and 22 from 26 from the line. He carried the Knicks almost single-handedly, scoring more than half of their points in the first half. Though the team still lost, King delivered what many call the definitive individual Christmas Day performance, a masterclass in skill, poise, and sheer scoring ability. By the mid-1980s, something had changed. Christmas Day games were no longer just about filling arenas, they were about building story. Patrick Ewing became one of the first stars to define that shift. On Christmas Day, 1985, a rookie Patrick Ewing and the New York Knicks found themselves down 25 points against the Boston Celtics, one of the league's elite teams. What followed was a comeback that felt bigger than the standings. Ewing anchored the rally, pushing the game into double overtime and announcing himself on one of the NBA's biggest stages. A year later, Christmas delivered another moment. Christmas Day 1986 saw New York Knicks against the Chicago Bulls. Patrick Ewing sealed this game with a last-second putback. On the other side, a young Michael Jordan playing in his first Christmas Day game dropped 30 points. The Knicks won, but there's a larger takeaway than the result. The league found something. By the mid to late 1980s, the NBA began using Christmas intentionally. Emerging stars, big market teams, matchups built around narratives. Hovering over all of it was Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. Their rivalry didn't just define the decade, it reshaped how the NBA was marketed. Lakers vs Celtics proved that star power and storytelling could dominate national television. Christmas Day became a natural extension of that idea, a day where the NBA didn't just play games, it showcased them. From that point on, Christmas wasn't filler, it was a proving ground, and the league was only getting started. By the mid-1990s, Christmas Day had become more than a showcase. It was now a battleground for rivalries, and in 1995, the NBA crossed a new line. For the first time, Christmas Day hosted a finals rematch. Just 6 months earlier, the Houston Rockets had swept the Orlando Magic in the NBA Finals. Hakeem Olajuwon had outplayed Shaquille O'Neal on the biggest stage, cementing his legacy and leaving Orlando with unfinished business. Christmas Day offered a chance at redemption. This wasn't about standings, it was about pride. Shaq vs Hakeem, the league's most dominant young center, against reigning finals MVP, legendary center himself, Hakeem Olajuwon. Two franchises tied together by one of the most lopsided finals outcomes of the decade. The game more than lived up to the moment. Late in the fourth quarter, the game on the line, Penny Hardaway taking over, and in the closing seconds, hits the game-winning jumper, flipping the script. For at least for one night, Orlando got its win. Shaq got his answer, and Christmas Day got something new, a true rivalry payoff. This game marked a turning point. From that moment on, Christmas wasn't just about stars, it was about history, colliding in real time. Finals rematches became special occasions, used sparingly, and treated like events. Even today, only a handful of final rematches have ever been played on Christmas Day, and it all started here. By the early 2000s, Christmas Day had become something else entirely. It wasn't just a showcase anymore, it was where the NBA aired its biggest drama, and there's no storyline bigger than this one. Shaquille O'Neal vs Kobe Bryant on Christmas Day 2004. For the first time since the breakup, Shaquille O'Neal faced the Lakers and Kobe Bryant after being traded to Miami. The dynasty was over. The partnership had collapsed publicly.
You know how I be. Last week Kobe couldn't do without me.
And Christmas Day became the stage for the confrontation. The game felt tense from the opening tip. Every touch mattered. Every bucket carried subtext. And when the game went to overtime, the moment only grew. This wasn't just one of the most watched Christmas games ever. It was a referendum on legacy, on who really owned the dynasty. 7 years later, and the NBA knew exactly what it was doing. The NBA capitalized on another defining moment on Christmas Day, this time at the very start of a season. On Christmas Day in 2011, the Bulls taking on the Lakers. After a lockout-wiped season for the first 2 months, the NBA returned on Christmas Day, opening night, and the league wasn't ready to ease the fans back in. They wanted to go straight to the stars. In the closing seconds, Derrick Rose attacked the lane and hit the game-winning layup, announcing that the league had entered a new era. On the other end, Kobe Bryant took one last heavily contested shot, surrounded, fading, forcing a miracle that never came. That contrast said everything, the past and the future colliding on Christmas night. By the early 2000s, Christmas Day wasn't just about proven legends, it was also about introduction. Sometimes the NBA used December 25th to give fans a glimpse of what was coming next. Christmas Day 2003, Cleveland vs Orlando. LeBron James, Tracy McGrady. On paper, what a marquee matchup. Both teams were under 500. Neither were a title contender. But culturally, this game mattered. An 18-year-old LeBron James, in his rookie season, sharing the Christmas spotlight with one of the most electrifying scorers in the league. T-Mac was in his prime, capable of taking over games Like that, LeBron was still learning, still growing, but already playing with the confidence of someone who knew the stage belonged to him. This game was competitive. The moment was symbolic. This was Christmas Day doing what it does best, introducing the next era before the world realizes it's arrived. A decade later, the same thing happened again. Christmas Day 2013, Warriors vs Clippers, before the championships, before the MVPs, before the dynasty, a young Steph Curry and Klay Thompson faced the Lob City Clippers, Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan, in a game that felt way bigger than the standings. It was chippy, players were ejected, and it came down to the final seconds. Curry didn't dominate the box score that night, but the signs were there. The movement, the shooting gravity, the way the game bent around him. This was a team on the rise, sharing the stage with an established contender. And fittingly, if you remember this iconic jingle commercial. By the mid-2010s, Christmas Day had fully transformed. This wasn't just a Christmas game. It was the sequel to one of the greatest finals ever played. Christmas Day 2016, Cavaliers vs the Warriors. Rematch that needs no introduction. Just 6 months earlier, these two teams had delivered one of the greatest finals in NBA history, capped by a 3-1 comeback, and a championship that changed legacies. Now, they were back on the league's biggest regular season stage, but everything had shifted. Golden State wasn't the same. After a 73-9 season and a final collapse, they added Kevin Durant, the ultimate counterpunch. The Warriors weren't chasing redemption anymore. They were chasing inevitability. For Cleveland, this was about proof. For Golden State, it was about dominance. The game itself matched the weight of the moment. The Cavaliers trailed by 14 points in the fourth quarter in Oracle on Christmas against the super team. But LeBron James and Kyrie Irving dragged them back, position by position, shot by shot. Late game execution, defensive stops equals a statement win. Cleveland closed it out and reminding everyone that banners still mattered more than projection. This wasn't just a Christmas game, it was a sequel. A reminder of why the NBA saves its biggest matchups for December 25th, because by now, Christmas wasn't about history anymore. It was history, happening in real time. By the 2020s, Christmas Day wasn't just about rivalries anymore. It became a stage for pure, undeniable brilliance. Nikola Jokic on Christmas Day 2022 was no theatrics, just control. An overtime thriller against the Suns, Jokic delivered perhaps one of the most complete performances ever. 41 points, 15 rebounds, 15 assists. Picked apart defenses possession by possession. Every trip down the floor ran through him. By the end of the night, it felt less like a game and more like a masterclass in how basketball can be played. Quiet dominance, historic numbers, a Christmas performance fitting only of the Joker. Luka Doncic. Christmas Day in 2023. Luka exploded for 50 points and 15 assists, destroying the Suns with a performance that felt chaotic, creative, and completely unstoppable. It wasn't just scoring, it was control through chaos. Luka bent the game to his pace, turned mismatches into targets, and turned Christmas Day into his personal playground. If Joker showed the beauty of order, Luka delivered the thrill of disorder. Different styles, same result. Another reminder that on Christmas Day, legends don't wait for the playoffs. They announce themselves live on the league's biggest stage. What began as routine holiday scheduling became something much bigger. Christmas Day evolved into the NBA's showcase, a stage for superstars, rivalries, and moments that live far beyond the box score. From Wilt to Luka, generation after generation has turned December 25th into basketball history. So now it's your turn. What's your favorite Christmas Day game? And who do you think shines next? If you made it this far, you're clearly an NBA fan. And I'll be making more videos just like this one coming up in the new year. So if that's your thing, feel free to stick around. Thanks for watching and enjoy the games.
Really got a bone to pick with you punks. What you doing in here? I'm doing it